ChatGPT is gonna take my freaking job, you guys.
Hey, it's Josephine from the Pointe Shop. Today it's Pointe Shoe Fitter versus AI. If you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's artificial intelligence where you can basically ask it anything and it spits out the answer. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna ask it pointe shoe questions and see how accurate it is. Let's do this. What is the best pointe shoes for wide feet? I feel like I'm asking trick questions. So let's see what, oh my gosh, this is wild.
Selecting the best pointe shoes for wide feet involves a combination of personal preferences and professional guidance from a trained fitter or instructor. However, I can provide you with some general information about popular pointe shoe brands and models that are known to cater to dancers with wider feet. Keep in mind that fit and comfort of pointe shoes can vary widely from person to person, so it's essential to try on different options and seek professional advice.
This is scary. Okay, number one, Grishko 2007. This is a really strange choice to lead with because it's generally pretty tapered.
Grishko is often praised for offering options suitable for wider feet. The Grishko 2007 model in particular is known for its accommodating design and broader box shape.
It actually doesn't have a broader box shape. It's a little bit more tapered, but I will say Grishko / Nikolai.
If you're from the United States, it's called Nikolai. If you're from anywhere else, it's called Grishko.
It is a little bit more tapered, but it does come in very wide boxes. So it can go up to a width 6, which is very, very wide, and it can go down to a width 0, which is extremely narrow. It's just a very versatile pointe shoe, but I wouldn't necessarily pull this out first if you're asking about wider feet. Russian Pointe Rubin.
Russian Pointe's Rubin model is favored by some dancers with wider feet due to its wider toe box and flexible shank options.
Okay, so this is actually pretty accurate. Russian Pointe, thank you. This is the Russian Pointe Rubin. It does have a wider platform and it's a broader box. Now, I did just ask what shoe is best for wider feet rather than wider toes, and there is a difference. Usually width is across the metatarsals, but you can also think about how broad the shoe is as well. So this is pretty accurate. This is a trick question because any of these could come in a wider width. Rubin comes in 6 widths, so if you have a wider foot, this makes sense. Okay. This is so scary. Oh my gosh, ChatGPT is gonna take my freaking job, you guys. Okay, Gaynor Minden.
Gaynor Minden pointe shoes are known for their customizable fit, which can be beneficial for those with wider feet.
I'm not sure if I agree with this exactly, only because Gaynor Minden comes in 3 different widths, narrow, medium, and wide. The different box shape is 2 is very tapered, 3 is still pretty tapered, 3+ is a little bit broader, and box 4 and 5 are the widest in the platform. I would say that even in like a wide 5 box, it's probably not the widest. If I'm looking at the widest feet that I'm fitting, I would more likely to go with a shoe that has wider options. So the narrowest is not for the narrowest feet, and then the widest is probably not for the widest feet, just because it's more a little bit in the middle. But moderate to wide feet, it would still fit. Okay, so Block Heritage is next. It seems as though they're just naming the most popular models instead of actually telling you what the widest shoes are, because the Block Heritage, I would say that while it comes in a width 4 and it's pretty wide, I wouldn't say that that's like the widest block model. If you're looking for a wide shoe, I would say like European Balance or the ALISO, those are actually a little bit wider than the Heritage. So it seems like it's just listing the popular sizes. The Heritage is slightly more tapered than a European Balance, and the width 4 is slightly narrower than a width 4 in the Block European Balance. So I wouldn't necessarily pick that shoe up for the widest feet. Freed Classic Pro. Freed Classic Pro, I would say that that might be the most popular Freed model. I might be wrong, but the Classic Pro has up to a width 3, starts at width 0. Again, I'm not entirely sure if I would pick this shoe out. A Studio 2 comes a little bit wider. If I'm just looking at width, then I would probably opt for the Studio 2 instead of Classic Pro 90. And then Capezio Ava. I would say Capezio Ava is pretty accurate. It goes from a narrow to a double wide, so it is quite wide. I would say that it's pretty comparable to the Block European Balance. The shape is very similar. It's wider. It has a broader platform and it can accommodate a lot of different wide feet. I would say that of the pointe shoes that they've mentioned, the most accurate I would probably say is the Capezio Ava and the Rubin, just because it comes in wider widths. The 2007 could work only if we have a width 6, but I know that that's more rare. A lot of people only carry up to a width 5. But again, that's a little bit more tapered, so I would say that even the width 6 is probably not as wide as like an Ava. Okay, it's making me feel a little bit better because it just seems like it's just spitting out the most popular. I'm sure within a couple of years, ChatGPT will become much better. Let's ask it another question and see if it spits out similar answers. What pointe shoes are the best for narrow feet? Interesting. It didn't just spit out the most popular models. They actually are spitting out
Models that have been discontinued.
Selecting the best pointe shoes for narrow feet also involves considering personal preferences and professional advice.
That's important, actually. I'm glad that ChatGPT knows that. Personal preference is probably the #1 thing I go off of when I'm fitting professional dancers, because the dancer has been dancing in pointe shoes for such a long time that even if the shape or the width or whatever may not be accurate, I go off of what the dancer likes rather than what I'm seeing. So it is a balance between personal preference and professional advice. I'm just helping them guide to the place where the dancer can find a shoe that will accommodate their preferences. Russian Pointe Almaz, which is not around anymore. I would say that it is pretty similar to the Rubin, except it is not a pre-arched. It's pretty flat. It is slightly narrower, and I would say it's slightly longer than the Rubin. It's not an entire width narrower, and it's not an entire length longer, but it's still very similar. But if I were to pick a narrower shoe, narrower model from this brand, it would probably be the Sapphire, not the Almaz. I feel like that is almost there, but not quite. Freed Classic.
The classic model is often recommended for dancers with narrower feet.
Not always, because Freed Classic can also come in a width 3, which is also pretty wide, but the classics come in a 0X, and 0X is pretty narrow, so that could work. The shape of the Freed is a little bit different than other pointe shoes that are made within the last few years because it is a little bit narrower and higher profile. So I can kind of see it. Honestly, with Freed Classic, it's so different because it has so many different makers. And some makers make their shoes a little bit narrower, a little bit more tapered. It just really depends on what model and what maker you're going off of. #3, Gaynor Minden. Again, that's fairly accurate. If I'm thinking about the dancer with the narrowest feet, the narrow might not be narrow enough. We might be able to do a 3 box in a narrow width that can accommodate pretty narrow feet, but again, just generally has less options. Block Aspiration. Really?
Block Aspiration pointe shoes is designed to accommodate narrower feet with tapered box and a snug heel.
It could work, but not exactly. A lot of block pointe shoes are now doing 0Xs as well, so that's pretty narrow. I would say that an Amelie or even a Heritage in a 0X is probably narrower than an average Aspiration. Grishko Nova.
Grishko Nova model is known for its narrow fit, making it suitable for dancers with slender feet.
I can see this. A lot of Grishko/Nikolai in a 1X or a 0X, that's going to be as narrow as it gets. The Nova is slightly wider in the platform. It's a variation of the 2007, so it's still pretty tapered. The 1X is going to be very, very narrow. The 0X even better. So I can actually see this just because Grishko makes excellent narrow shoes. Capezio Tiffany.
Yo.
How you doing? I haven't seen you in a while.
Tiffany pointe shoes is designed with a narrow heel and a tapered box to cater for dancers with narrower feet.
I would say that of the Capezio models, Tiffany is considered a narrow shoe. Compared to other brands, Tiffany is not so narrow. I would say that yes, if you're just comparing Tiffany to other Capezio models, but no if you're comparing Tiffany with other brands. Sancha Pro 1C. Dude, Sancha Pro 1C is a ballet slipper. Sancha Pro 1C is a canvas ballet slipper, but while we're here, let me tell you, everyone my age wore a Sancha Pro 1C.
Like everyone.
Because I'm not quite sure, I think Sancha Pro 1C is one of the first split sole ballet slippers that came out. So Mr. F.R. Duval created the split sole, and it kind of like started this whole split sole ballet slipper era. So props to Sancha for doing that. But y'all, this is not a pointe shoe.
As always, it's crucial to consult with a professional pointe shoe fitter or your dance instructor when choosing pointe shoes for narrow feet.
Preferably both. Like, your teacher and I need to get on board together, because your teacher sees you in class, and a lot of times when I'm fitting you, I don't know how you dance, and I don't know how these shoes are gonna do what they're gonna do for you. So talk to your teacher as well as your pointe shoe fitter.
They can assess your specific foot shape, arch, strength to recommend the best option for your individual needs. Properly fitted pointe shoes are essential for comfort, performance, and preventing potential foot problems.
All of that is true. The pointe shoe suggestions are a little bit dicey, only because even within the same brand, you're not naming the narrowest fit. But I'm sure this is going to get better as it learns more. That's what AI is. That's what machine learning is. Okay, last question. What is the Pointe Shop? I'm just basically Googling myself at this point. Okay. The Pointe Shop is a well-known retailer and service provider that specializes in fitting and selling pointe shoes for dancers. They offer personalized pointe shoe fitting services both in person at their physical locations and through online consultations. The Pointe Shop has gained a reputation for its expertise in helping dancers find the right pointe shoes that match their individual foot shape, strength, and ballet technique.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! The Pointe Shop's approach involves assessing dancers' feet, discussing their dance background, and observing their movement, and recommend the most suitable pointe shoe options. I am like, I didn't write this. Like, they didn't just pull this off our website. This is pretty good. They work with various pointe shoe brands and models to provide a range of choices for dancers with different needs. The goal is to ensure a comfortable and secure fit while promoting proper technique and foot health. Cool. Pointe Shop typically has experienced fitters who are knowledgeable about nuances of pointe shoe fittings, making it a popular destination for dancers seeking professional guidance of fitting perfect pointe shoes. Oh my gosh. ChatGPT, you know me? Okay, so all in all, pretty good, pretty impressive. Would I hire ChatGPT as a pointe shoe fitter? Maybe not, but I think it's going to get there. It's kind of scary and kind of cool at the same time. It seems like with individual preferences, they still don't have exact knowledge on the type of pointe shoes that are suited for certain types. I thought they would be able to at least find the widest model per brand, but they just spit out the most popular brands. Still getting there, but pretty impressive overall. I'm okay with it. I'm really okay with it. But if you guys want me to ask more questions and see who's a better pointe shoe fitter, me or ChatGPT, then let's do this. Ask the questions away in the comments. I'll see you guys later.